Okay. Thank you very much, guys. Appreciate it. Hope you're all as excited as I am. Note, Andy and Bethpage, former winners of the MGA Environmental Award, so a steward all the way through. A few minutes more left in the agenda this morning, which is why we leave the lightning round to the last session. So I'm going to invite Elliot Dowling back up from the USGA during his visits throughout the year. Gets a lot of stories and insight of different things that we're all dealing with, and so a couple of items that he'd like to cover with you as we close out the morning. So,
So Kevin's looking for the clicker. Yeah, it's so interesting that finally I get to use the lightning round for his name. I am going to get us 15 minutes instead of 30. If I had to go through slides, there's two things with this lightning round I want to get to. One is tree removal. We talk a lot about tree removal on golf courses and the importance of it. But from a golfer's perspective, I get a lot of always is if we remove this tree, the course is going to become too easy. If we remove these trees, the course will become too easy. And I thought it was interesting, on the flyover from Bethpage we just saw, I didn't see a lot of trees inside the ropes, right, in the playing court. And Bethpage, thank you, is notorious. We put the most difficult golf courses in the world, the black course, and they do it without trees. They do it with other methods. But so let's go through this. Tree removal and course difficulty. This is our rating system. If you're going to rate a golf course slope and rating, which everybody is most interested in when it comes to course difficulty, you often go to that first on a scorecard of a course you've never been to. This is everything that goes into compiling that in order. So when you get to number 8, you'll see where trees actually rank on this scale. The importance of how trees affect course slope and rating. It's well below several other things, and then what really impacts, let's see, I'm sorry. So I don't expect you to read all of this. This is an email correspondence between myself and Matt Duffy. He's our director of handicap research, of handicap. He comes up with this scale. If you have questions on course slope and rating, it often goes to him. What I wanted to highlight out of this email between he and I is where he says, we are taking 1/1000th of a stroke if an obstacle has a 1-point change. And not every tree you remove has a 1-point change. Some have no change. Now, if you want to affect course slope and rating, we're going to talk about effective length and how you play the hole. If a tree or any obstacle actually affects the playing length or the effective length of a hole, that will have a point rating. But just a tree for tree's sake doesn't affect it, and even still, we're talking 1/1000th of a point on this. And where I came to this with him was, I was talking about a course, it was actually in Connecticut, I was on a visit, and trees everywhere, it wasn't Bill, it wasn't Trickles, but trees everywhere. And the committee folks who were there on the visit were dead set against removing trees. They just could not wrap their mind around removing trees because they were convinced, or they had convinced themselves, that any removal was going to result in the hole or the course playing easily. To the point where the superintendent couldn't limb trees. Anything like hanging over where the equipment would hit it under a cart path, or you'd hit it on a bunker. I mean, forgetting the tree hanging over the bunker, we're going to ignore that for a minute. The fact that you couldn't take a full swing because of the tree hanging over a bunker, they were convinced that they couldn't remove it. So I had a lot of emails with Matt Duffy and sent these to them, and Matt said, this was last year I suppose, but what I cut out, not intentionally I suppose, is he said, assuming you're not talking about an Oakmont level removal, Oakmont you're going to see a lot of in June, they are the top example of probably tree removal. They went from a heavily forced golf course to where they are today. There are others like them, but that comes up a lot. So assuming, what he said is, assuming you're not talking about that, you're talking about routine tree removal, routine tree maintenance, it has no bearing on course playability. The 5, he said, if you want to affect that, if you want to make your course play harder or easier, these are the 5 things you need to affect. Roll, dog leg or forced layup, elevation, wind, and altitude. 3 of those, I don't know how you change. 2 of them you probably could, right? The roll out of the ball or where you place a bunker or a tree. So again, showing the point of trees up and down the left and right side of the fairway, removing them doesn't make it easier. In fact, I got a few examples here on this right side. I don't know if I have a laser, but anyway, the right side, that tree hanging over. That was one that we really spent a lot of time talking about. I think that would change the effective length of this hole. I also think it would open up more options for all of your players to play. I personally was in favor of removing this tree. This course was by no means in any danger of hosting the US Open. They want their golfers to have the best day possible. So opening this corridor was going to give those players of all abilities greater options. You're going to have the ability, if you're a really good player, to cut this corner, or if you're a player like me, you're looking for anything away from that tree. Anything that lands on solid ground is a good shot. So I like removing this tree to open up a wider corridor and playing options, but that might affect effective playing length. I get this a lot. You guys probably see this on your golf course. You have trees everywhere. The rough underneath is in really poor condition. We've done USGA work in this aspect to talk about, again, not Oakmont level removal, but thoughtful removal. What happens in this situation? Because I'll get pushback. If we remove these trees, this hole plays easier. And I'll give you my argument, and it's not just mine. It's the data we have to support a lot of this. So you can see the green is in the top left corner of the photo. If my ball goes in the right, options are limited, right? What are you most likely trying to do in this case? Just chip it back out in the fairway, probably have a better club in your hand. You have a nicer looking iron, maybe a scoring iron in your hand. I like my chances from the fairway with a wedge or an iron. Here's where golfers get themselves in trouble and where these will not play any easier. You remove these trees, grass gets healthier. A, the course is more attractive. B, this rough is difficult. Now, here's what you have. You have not taken away the option of pitching back into the fairway. Any player can do that at any time. But what you've now given golfers is an option. You're letting golfers think. And we all know that when you all think through your game, it can get a little bit dicey at times. So now, if my ball is here in nice, thick, healthy rough, I have nothing in my way. I can see the green. And I'm going to try to connect with this ball with a longer iron, perhaps. I don't know how it's going to spin. I don't know how much grass is behind the ball, but I know I'm going to go for it. And what you may find is more trouble. Greenside bunkers, hills where balls roll off, water by the green, where you may not have found that trouble because your option was pitch out to the fairway and then lay up again with a more shorter scoring iron. So giving golfers options. If you talk to any architect doing a lot of work right now, I think if you're here last year, Jim Nagel mentioned this, the focus is on width and angles. We want to give everybody the ability to either have a really good day or get themselves in trouble. Do it to yourself. You're going to look at a wide open shot and say, well, I'm good enough, I'll cut that corner. I can reach this green because it looks like it's wide open. Then you find you get yourself in more trouble because you took an option you think looked wide open, but you then eventually had to execute that shot. So in this case, I'm telling you, this doesn't become an easier shot because you remove the trees. It's at least a net no change, or it may become a more difficult shot because you think you can pull off a shot that maybe you didn't before out of some thin rough. Same thing here. We all have seen this course. This may be your course. Trees everywhere. We can't remove these trees. Everyone's going to go left and make the hole shorter and cut it off. And it just isn't true. If you can see the mixture here, to me, I recommended every little tree. I don't have a pointer. There's one really big oak tree in the middle. Beautiful tree. Let that one tree stand there and be the feature of the left side of the hole. That tree will be in your way if you go to the left rough. And that left rough becomes much healthier without all the competition. There's no roots from the trees or fewer. There's more sun into the area. as traffic and carts and rough mowers all go underneath these trees on a daily basis on stressed grass, that all wears out. You want nice, dense, thick, healthy rough. That will make this an equally penal shot with that one large tree that is A, attractive, and B, still stands in your way as an obstacle. All right, lastly, I'm going to skip to, if anyone saw, let's see, I mentioned superintendent survey. Anybody see this recently? We did a superintendent survey, and the superintendent saw it. So we polled across the country, superintendents, what are you most concerned with? What are you most interested in? Where, if you look into the future, if you've got a crystal ball, what are you looking towards? So I'm going to pull out some of the Northeast data on this. Really, not only for the superintendents, perhaps you saw it, for everyone else in the room. So that when your superintendent starts to talk to you about some of these things, you know that this is a real problem. This is not your course or a one-off. Some of these things are essentially global, or at least across North America. So, Northeast, level of concerns. This is ranked. So as you can see, of all Northeast superintendents who responded, pesticide constraints and water, very concerning. Labor, very concerning. And then you get into weather and budget, and it starts to come up into either disease, pest issues, professional advancement. But pesticide constraints and water. These are two really concerning things. If I had a crystal ball, this is where I'd be looking. I don't. I can't tell you what sort of restrictions are coming, but just knowing where we are in New England, where I live in Massachusetts, if they're going to restrict anything, it's going to be water and plant protectants first. If that's where we're headed. It's a direction I think would be likely to head down that path. This gets a little bit choppy here, but I broke down a couple states that are probably in the room. So here's Connecticut. Here's how Connecticut superintendents felt about the issues. So you can see the overall score is in the blue, Connecticut superintendent's rankings in the red. So pesticide constraints were very concerning, less so in Connecticut, which honestly I found interesting. I work with a number of courses in Connecticut who are almost solely reliant on city water. They pay for water. That to me concerns me, because if we go down the path of water restrictions, they're going to be the first that are affected. Those that have city water only, they're going to cut that off or reduce it. I'd be looking towards a supplemental irrigation source, ponds, wells, something on site. Moving through to New York, a little bit similar, but you can see now New York superintendents, pesticides are still very concerning. They're a little bit more concerned about water than it appeared Connecticut was. And then you come up through labor. Pesticide resistance, we've probably all heard about ADW, right? We haven't talked about it in a while because there's been new research, there's a couple of new products, but ADW is still the most expensive and difficult pest to control. There are a lot of resistant issues. That has to be one where superintendents are still concerned with that. We grow a lot of POA in this area, and the annual bluegrass weevil attacks POA first. That's what it likes to do. And then lastly, I'll wrap here. Interestingly, New Jersey superintendents, apparently they don't have a care in the world. They ranked well over everybody else in terms of what they, so things are really good in New Jersey right now, or one person who's just in a good spot is fine. I don't, you can go further with this and get into actual numbers. There were an equal number of New Jersey, New York, Connecticut supers that all responded. So I don't have a good explanation for this. I will tell you, if you're in the room from New Jersey, I know a few of you are, I think more like the Connecticut and New York supers. I'd be concerned about pesticide use, water consumption, just like they are, because it's coming your way too. So, I ran through my lightning round. We are back on time. I got one question, anybody? Otherwise, I know I stand between lunch and I like lunch too, so let's do it. Okay, thank you guys.